How do you make sure a division equation as a fraction makes sense in a word problem? In today's lesson, you'll continue to solve division problems using fractions, checking to make sure your equation and fraction makes sense in the context of the word problem. First, let's review how we might show division, or the different ways that we know division can be shown. One is just with a regular division equation. Let's say I had 12 divided by 2. I can write that as 12 over 2. We know that's going to be 6. Right? Another way that we just learned is to represent a division problem using fractions, where we had our dividend and our divisor, that becomes our numerator, 12, and our denominator, 2. That's also going to equal 6, because as we know, this is an improper fraction, and for us to solve this and change this into a mixed number, we can use the last way that we know how to represent division equations, with long division. With long division, the number that's to be divided, 12, is going to go inside, and the number that's dividing, or the divisor, 2, goes outside. And then 2 goes into 12 6 times. So 6 goes on the top. 2 times 6 is 12. We take that difference. We're left with a remainder of 0. So the mixed number that represents 12 divided by 2, or 12 halves as a fraction, is just 6. So again, we have 3 different ways to represent the same division problem. Regular division equation, 12 divided by 2. As a fraction, 12 halves, where this is basically 12, again, divided by, that's what that little bar means, 2. And last, as a long division equation, 12 divided by 2, where the number on the inside is going to be the dividend, and the number on the outside is divisor. Or the number on the inside is the numerator, and the number on the outside is the denominator. So now let's revisit and look at representing this division problem as a fraction in a word problem. The thing to keep in mind with math in general is that when you have word problems, these numbers mean something. They are related to something else, and it's up to us to try to figure out what that is. When we have represent a word problem with a division equation, that division equation is going to have some meaning attached to it. And our job today is to figure out exactly what that is. Once we can figure out what those numbers mean and how it makes sense, it makes it a lot easier for us to solve. Okay. So we have this problem that says if 9 people want to share a 50-pound sack of rice equally by weight, how many pounds of rice should each person get? Again, as I'm looking through this, I'm going to highlight important information. I see that there's 9 people, and there's a 50-pound sack of rice. Okay. So the 2 things that I have are going to be 9 people and a 50-pound sack of rice. If I were to represent this as a division equation, using just these 2 numbers, and not think about anything else, just look at 9 and 50, there are 2 potential division problems equations that I could come up with. There's 9 divided by 50, and 50 divided by 9. This is where we need to figure out which equation is going to match the problem that we have. And that's done by checking to see if the equation that we come up with is reasonable. Remember that these numbers, 9 and 50, represent something. So if we look at our first problem, 9 divided by 50, what that's saying is really 9 people divided by 50 pounds of rice. Doesn't really make sense if you think about it. What this equation is basically saying is that if we had 9 people, we're going to divide them 50 different ways and then give them to pounds of rice. Doesn't really make sense. I can't really divide people in a word, or I can't really divide people and then give them out to an object like rice. Let's look at this other equation here. We have 50 divided by 9. What this is telling me was that we have 50 pounds of rice, and we're going to divide it 9 ways to give to 9 people. That sounds more like the problem that I want to solve. So this is going to be the division equation that's going to represent this word problem. So again, if we're looking at this word problem, first thing we want to do is to represent this as a division equation. 50 divided by 9. 50 pounds of rice divided equally among 9 people. If we were to represent this as a fraction, 50 is going to be the numerator, because that's what's being divided, and 9 is the denominator, because that is the divisor, or that's how many equal parts we're going to split our rice up into. You can see here, the dividend, first part of the division equation, is going to be the numerator. Divisor, the second part, is the denominator. So now we have an improper fraction. Let's make this into a mixed number. Using the last form of division that we can represent, we're going to have 50 inside. That's going to be divided by 9. I know that 9 goes into 50 at the most 5 times, and 9 times 5 is 45. Then we just solve. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 4 is 0. 9 cannot go into 5 equally, or as a whole number anymore, so our remainder is 5. If we represent this as an equation, 5 here, this 5 is our whole number, and this remainder 5 becomes the top of our new fraction, the numerator, and our denominator is down here on the bottom as 9. So if 9 people want to share a 50-pound sack of rice equally by weight, each person would get 5 5/9 pounds of rice. Now it's your turn. At this point in the video, feel free to pause, solve the problem, and then resume to check your answer. Remember, as you write your division equation and as you write your fraction, to think about the reasonableness of what's being asked. Does your equation actually make sense in the context of the word problem? Alright, let's solve this. We have this problem that says, James makes sketches. He has 12 sticks of pencil lead for his mechanical pencil. If he wants to make 5 drawings, how much lead can he use on each? Remember, as we looked at before, we're going to have 12 sticks of pencil lead, that's one thing, and 5 drawings. Now, as we did before, if we were to represent this as a division equation, which will be the first step, is to represent this as a division equation. Just looking at these two numbers, I could have 2 potential equations. 12 divided by 5, or 5 divided by 12. And we can check the reasonableness of each one. 12 divided by 5 is asking us to take 12 sticks of pencil lead and to use them among 5 drawings. And what we get is going to be how many sticks of lead we use per drawing. 5 divided by 12 tells us to take 5 drawings and split it up 12 ways, and that tells us how many drawings we use per pencil lead. Doesn't really make sense. I can't really split up drawings, but I can split up pencil leads. So 12 divided by 5 is probably going to be our equation that we want to use. So let's take this other one out of here. And now let's solve. We can represent this as a fraction again, where we have 12 divided by 5. Think of this fraction as like a division sign. And this line, it tells you what is being divided, or that separates the dividend from the divisor. So that 12 is being divided by 5. So the fraction that represents this problem is 12/5. This is an improper fraction. Let's change it to a mixed fraction. So we change this in log division, put 12 on the inside, divided by 5. 5 goes into 12 twice because 5 times 2 is 10. We take the difference here. We're left with a remainder of 2. So as a fraction, as a mixed fraction, if James wants to make 5 drawings, for each drawing he uses 5 2/5 sticks of pencil lead. Today, you learned how to check division equations for reasonableness and continue to represent it as a fraction.